Hello and welcome to another Witcher 3 REDkit tutorial. I'm Matthias, and today I'm going to show you how to publish your mod and what are the possible obstacles that you can have while publishing your mod. So let's take a look. So I launched REDkit with a brand new project. It's completely empty. And for our mod, let's stick with something more simple. I'm just going to use an existing level, maybe on Novigrad, and place an entity into it, like a house or something. So first of all, let's open up Novigrad in our asset browser. Just open this on the toolbar. And in this structure, if you don't see this tree, it can be toggled with this show tree button. So make sure that you can toggle this and you can see it a little bit better how the default looks like and its overall structure. And inside levels, you can see that there's a folder called Novigrad. And at the bottom somewhere, you can actually search for the world. So Novigrad world, so we can open it. So let's double click on this. It can take up quite a few seconds to load everything in. So just stay a little patient. But once it finishes, you will see that the main viewport will be populated with the camera and the actual site of Novigrad. And at the right side, at the panel view in the scene structure, you can see all of the layer groups that Novigrad has. So to actually make it quite simple how we can test our mod, we can just simply use the starting location of the DLCs, because as you probably remember, at the main menu, you can actually select in what DLCs you can start with. And you can actually start from the DLC called Blood and Wine. And Blood and Wine starts right in Novigrad at a village called Poppy Stone. You can actually search for this village, typing Poppy Stone in the scene structure search bar. And in here, you will see that there's a layer group structured with gameplay, villages, and Poppy Stone. And you can actually show the layer, one of its layers. And by doing so, removing the search, you can see that now it's toggled. So gameplay, villages, and Poppy Stone. And that's what we wanted. Now, the reason why I did that is that I wanted to keep some consistency about the layers that I'm going to create around Poppy Stone. But of course, if you don't want to care about this, you can just, create a new layer pretty much anywhere, even at the root. Just wanted to make sure to keep things clean. So at Poppy Stone, we're going to create a layer for our house. So let's call it custom house, maybe. And for the type, I'm gonna stick with auto-static because houses are much like static meshes. And for the build tag, we can stick with outdoor as well. So let's create this. And now we can actually, input the house into our main viewport, into this layer. As you can see, its name is right now highlighted because it's activated. You need to have an activated layer to place entities in. So in Asset Browser, we will search something like house big old exterior, Cato house big old exterior. So let's just put this into the search bar. And you will see that there's an entity called exactly that. Now, the reason for why I'm choosing this exact entity will be explained a little later. But this time, let's just focus on placing this into our level. So let's just drag and drop this in, and you will see that the house is now already inside, and the layer is populated with the entity and some of its components. Excellent. So if you want to place your house somewhere else, because right at the start of the DLC, somewhere here, the player will spawn. So let's make sure that we're not gonna make much of an obstacle for it. If you're wondering why my house is actually sticking to the terrain, and why is it not clipping through the terrain? Because it's, supposed to follow the actual axis of the gizmo that I'm holding, but it's not doing that. The reason for that I'm using this main toolbar selection, If you're using no snap, then basically just gonna ignore everything and follow through the axis of the gizmo while dragging the entity. But you can use other options like snap to visual terrain. And that way you don't have to worry about, changing the elevation of your entity so it, would match the actual terrain. The other thing is that you can actually stack objects on top of each other if they have static collision on. So you can actually, place other objects on top of each other that way, which also can be handy. But this time let's stick with this method. And, just let's just put this building somewhere that would not create some obstacle. If you're not sure how the world will look like, because most of the content is not even loaded in right now, you can actually load some layers around the camera and maybe go with a little bit bigger of a range. So inside of this range, everything will be loaded in around the camera. So let's press OK. This may take a while, a couple of seconds. So let's wait for that. Okay. And as you can see, now everything loaded in for the village. We can see all the buildings and we can see ours as well. So once we're finished placing the new item in here, what I actually forgot to add is the interior of the house, because right now we only placed in the exterior. So for that, we just need to use the same name, but this time let's search for its interior. So let's go with that, interior. And you can see that right now we have two search results. One of them is a mesh and the other is the actual entity that we want. So let's place it in as well. Now, of course, they will not be aligned just yet. We need to make sure that their transform is the same. For that, we just need to copy the transform of the exterior. So 965 for the first X position, then 629, like so, and lastly the Z position. All right, and now we can see that they are perfectly aligned. Let's save our world. And right now we can see that it's got somewhat of an exterior. Now we can see the inside walls as well. And if we hop into gameplay using the play current layer only option on the main toolbar, it's going to look like a joystick with a tick icon. You can actually climb up here and get a closer look on the inside. Now let's say that we are happy with the result of the mod and we want to publish this. Let's just step out of the gameplay mode pressing F10. Make sure that you save your world before you publish. And let's start with the actual point of this video is to actually initiate, save, and publish the mod project. And by doing so, you will see the following dialog. And here you can actually name your mod. This time, I'm just gonna name it something like this. Also, we need to give a version. For us, we can just use version 1 or 1.0, what you would like. What you need to look out for, though, is to stay away from using really special characters in here. Just use the, appropriate letter and number combination, or just use a number. And in here, in the description, you can actually choose what will be displayed either on both of the sites where you can actually publish your mod into. We will talk this a little later. So, yeah, just go with something that you would suffice for your mod. Click on next. And in here, first, we need to cook our mod. Now, cooking is basically preparing all your raw assets files that your current workspace or your mod project has, and it will prepare it into bundles or different files into the format that the game would actually accept. Now, if you click on Start Cooking, it will do it automatically for you. It will prepare everything that currently resides in your workspace, everything that you have modified through your work, through working with the project. So let's click on Start Cooking. Now, since we left the world open currently, we need to close this in order to, let it work its thing. So it just asks us whether we can close the world or not. So let's click on yes. So it will close the world. And as soon as it's done doing that, it will start to actually, cook the project as soon as it can. And you can see that all the 11 steps will be gone through. Now, it's really depending how large your content is inside of your mods. So if you modified quite a few stuff, like half of Novigrad or created like 3 words and such, then you should expect quite some time to actually let the cooking finish. So don't fret if you need to wait even like 10 minutes to actually make it, to like wait it to be completed. It should take some time. Of course, if you just, modified small stuff like just entered like an extra line in your red scripts or something, then it should work a little faster. But let's just wait through this process. All right. And the cooking has successfully finished. As you can see, it went through all the 11 steps flawlessly. You can actually check out what was the aftermath or the result of the cooking by pressing this button called Open Folder. And I'm just going to show you on my other screen. So in here, you will see that this is your mod project. And inside of it, you will see that there's a pegged, publish, cook DLC, and cooked folder that was generated throughout the cooking process. And in here, you can actually see that in cooking or the cooked, folder, you will see a copy of your workspace folder, but this time all the content that was actually modified. And you can also see an extra file into it called cooked.db. Now, this file is really helpful because it will actually output all of the modified assets that your mod modified in the same structure that you would look at in the file structure, but this time it's just JSON. So here are the files that was modified. And if you're missing something that should be in your mod, then maybe this format will let you know a little bit better, or maybe it's more clear to see for you. So this is just basically, a configuration or debugging purposes per se. And the other stuff, like the packed folder, for instance, is the actual prepared content that can be translated and can be written by the game. So these are actually the bundles and store and cache files that can be put into your game installation mods folder. Now, of course, you can actually install it to your game. It will just, put it into the installation path of your game. So if you're using the Steam version of the game, then it will place it. Well, let's press this install button. So it will place it into your installation folder. So I'm gonna search for that just a bit. So in here, Steam library, Steam apps, and I got 2, one for the editor, the REDkit, and also the Witcher 3 game. And in here, you will see that right now, since I pressed this install button, the mods folder is allocated into its right place, and it's ready to use for your game. So for locally, the publish process is pretty much done. That's all. But if you want to release your mod for others to see and share it with others, Then you can hop on to the next step. The third step would be to prepare your mod for the different platforms that you can share it from. One of them would be the Nexus mods, and the other one would be the Steam Workshop. Now let's go through both of these together. So for that, we need to prepare our mod and with an extra step to actually present it with a zip file. So we just, compress it. So let's go for create. And it should be pretty fast. And you can actually check the folder where it resides. And you can see that there's the zip file where your mod file is actually prepared. So it's the same structure mods, your mod name and the content and the prepared bundles and caches, but this time it's compressed. So the next step is actually to publish it to Nexus mods if you want to publish it on Nexus, of course. So let's go for that. And what this button do is it just basically initiates and navigates you to the Nexus mod site to actually start, putting your mod together, and finally, by going through the steps, publish your mods onto this site. I think most of you would be pretty familiar of this process, so I don't want to bore you going through it. But what would be a little bit more important, maybe, is that right now we can actually have a custom classification for your mod, and that's it. That for this mod was created with REDkit. Now, of course, it's not necessary, but if you want to state that, you can actually have that. So maybe it would be more searchable for you guys. Okay, let's go on to the other stuff. So if you want to release this mod onto the Steam Workshop, you can do that by basically selecting the following options. You can see the connected information and the currently used Steam account. Right now it's my account and it was connected successfully, which is nice. So we can go through. You can also select what is the identified language for your mod. If you want to make it accessible for a specific language or make it just English, then you can stick with using English. And the visibility, of course, whether you want to want your mod as public or just you want to share it with your friends or completely private. And of course, if it's not the first time you're doing the save and publish process for your mod, then you can actually append it with a changelog what was changed in the second version or so. And one other thing we need to do is to actually associate an image for your mod. Now, of course, we can use any images as long as it's in a GIF or a PNG format. Right now, I already prepared a PNG file for myself, and we can go on by pressing publish. Now, this may also take a few seconds to actually finish, but at the end, the result would be pretty self-explanatory. Currently, your mod should be uploaded to your Steam Workshop as an item, and you can actually go right through there by choosing the Show in Stream Client button. So by pressing that, you will see that in my account, I can actually see this mod. Now, since I selected it as private, I am the only one who can see this. But of course, based on your configuration, it will most likely be visible to other people as soon as you published it. And pretty much that's it. The other thing that you need to worry about, if you're not installed your mod, you can now do it by pressing the subscribe button. But since I already installed it, I don't need to do that. I just need to make sure that it's here, and it is. You can actually see that there's the mod that I've just created and published. So let's hop over to the library and make sure that I close REDkit. And in the meantime, I can actually launch the game and check how the mod initiates as soon as I start the game. So let's check it together. All right. Okay, and once the game is launched, we can go with new game. And as I said, we're gonna choose blood and wine only, so we can start from that context. And this way, we can actually start a game right at the village where we place that building. Okay, let's skip through the occasional tutorial pop-ups. And there we have it. We have the building placed exactly where we left it. And let's check the interior pretty quick. And you will see that, there are some problems with the interior meshes. Well, not all the meshes are appearing because, as you can see, like the columns and also the fireplace is showing up, but the rest of the wall is gone. Now, let's investigate a little bit further. Why could this be? So, the very reason of this issue, why we couldn't see some of the meshes of the actual interior, even though that we tested in the gameplay inside of the editor, is well, a reason we call level only assets. Now, as you can see, this house that we just pulled in resides in the environment structure basically dedicated for another level called Skellige. So these house instances and some of its meshes that it's using up as a dependency was intended to be used in Skellige. Now, due to the fact that the current publishing methods only allow us to actually pull in the assets that are dedicated into the level, it will search for the dependencies in that order. So since we edited the Novigrad level in here and we pulled up in some other asset from another level, some of its materials and the mesh instances or material instances are not pulled in necessarily into our workspace, and it will not be treated accordingly. Now, luckily for us, we can actually have a workaround with this, so we can, force it a little bit better to be recognized as an actual dependency for the mesh that we're using. Now, as you can see, our house entity is taken up from two major parts. One of them is the exterior entity, and the other is the interior entity. And as we saw, there were a couple of problems with the interior. So to actually search for the resources that it's currently using, you can actually see that there is the mesh. Well, if you right click and you use the context menu and click on show resources, you will see some of the dependencies that the entity is using up. And one of them is the actual mesh. So Creator House, big old interior mesh. And if you click on this, you can actually navigate to the very mesh instance that it's using. Now, if you open this up, we can actually see what are the current material instances that it's using up. Now, as you can see, here is the actual mesh for the interior in its entirety. And if we take a look at the materials tab, that's the second tab on the right panel side, you will see that there will be all of the materials that it's currently using up. And you will see that these meshes will also have some dependencies on them. Now, if you basically select the pillar stone and double click on it, then you can also navigate to the very material instance that it's using. Now, if you're taking a closer look at the current path, which is common materials, Skellige, and care troll the houses, what you need to do to make sure that these material instances will taken up in order, no matter whatever level you're trying to use this, you need to check them out individually to make them work. So let's check out this pillar stone and everything else, and I will go right back at you once I get the entire list. And there, I just checked out pretty much all of the material instances that currently resides from this folder. So everything that ends with the v2mi extension, I just made sure that I checked it out manually. And that way it will be included in the workspace no matter what. And that way, if you republish your mod by saving this, hit on publish on the toolbar, save and publish mod project, all of the previously typed in values will remain, so you don't have to worry about it next time. And this time you can actually skip the cooking if there's no additional modifications to your mod, because for some reason you want to publish it again, then you can skip cooking, but this time we will just start cooking again, initiate it again. You cook it again, install it again to your game folder, and that way it will work. And yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff that I wanted to show you about publishing your mod to different platforms, and also what are one of the problems that you can face while doing so. If you have any questions, please do reach out to us. And without any further ado, see you guys.